What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Joey Plays Games podcast. We're here today with another episode. We're gonna break down all the crazy news that went down this week and some of the news that may be happening in the upcoming week. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the little trailer reacts we threw up this week. We were trying something new. We may need to do it again tomorrow because apparently there's a Shang-Chi trailer dropping tomorrow. But who knows when this drops, so things may be out of order and we'll just do the Shang-Chi thing and you guys will be really confused. But I want to welcome back my co-host. We have only two this week. Who knows where Owen is? He may be lost to the sands of Manassas. And who knows where Matt is? He's a degenerate. I want to welcome back my brother, Nicholas, who's running the show for the first time. So everybody give him props in the comments. He's doing a great job so far. And I want to welcome back Ronnie. Okay. Now that we've done our shenaniganery, let's get into the news and breaking down all of the things that have happened this week. So Nick, I want you to start with the rumor of the Wolverine anthology series that is in development for Disney Plus.
Okay, we are
Oh,
on
dear.
that.
We are on that?
Yes.
Fantastic. So you can just leave it at the top. You don't have to scroll anywhere. Just,
Okay,
just give the audience something nice to look at. You know what I mean?
we'll do.
Okay. So it's been a few months since the Illuminati revealed the X-Men are potentially making their return under the title The Mutants, but we haven't heard anything about Marvel Studios' plans for those characters since then. Well, the latest rumor may be hinting at the return of Wolverine. Goes on to talk about Hugh Jackman and how Logan was the center of 20th Century Fox, blah, 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 blah. But the hashtag shows reporting that Marvel Studios is in early development on a Wolverine-centric Disney Plus show. And it seems to be framing it as an anthology series, with the first season aiming to adapt the iconic Weapon X story and generally act as his origin within the MCU. Project is in very early stages of development, no talent is attached, and hashtag show believes they may be aiming to reveal this during this year's D23 event, which is interesting given that it has been canceled. So I'm really confused what the hell that means, but whatever. So I wanted to pose this as a story because what do we think of this series being told as an anthology series? So for those who aren't familiar with that term, it's more like it's not like we're starting at present day and going from there. It's more we may be going back in time, hopping around, doing all sorts of different things. And we may be telling singular stories and then moving around. And I wanted to know what you thought of them doing that for Wolverine, because we haven't really seen something like this in the MCU or DCU. And yes, that's Sarah in the background. Hi, Sarah. So, Ronnie, what do you think?
Get mom, sir. Just get
Okay, so when you say anthology series, are you talking like episode by episode, like Black Mirror, or are we talking about like season per season, like something like Infinity Train, if you're familiar with that show?
Okay, so typically when I think of anthology series, I think of Black Mirror. But the way the article framed it, of the first season being Weapon X and that whole story, makes me think it could be different. And it's just a liberal interpretation of the anthology term, where it's like they're going to do almost a Young Justice style thing, where you start at the beginning of their history and then you do a bunch of time jumps. So I think it's somewhere in there. Yeah, the definition of anthology doesn't help me with that.
Like let's say like one season is one story of Wolverine, and then the next season is something that's completely untied to the first season, but it's still another story.
Yeah, I wouldn't say untied, but it's like it's moving forward. So almost like, remember in X-Men Origins, where it's you get a lot of the backstory of who he is, and then you get the Weapon X event, and then they go and do things.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, it would be you get him getting his powers, and then you get a whole season. You get a season developing who he is as a person, him getting his powers, and then the start of him doing Merc stuff. And then I'd say whatever the cliffhanger is leaves questions, and then season 2 goes from there. Nick, you look a little confused. Are you not following what I'm saying?
You were saying season when I'm pretty sure you meant episode, but
No, I meant season.
then why
I was talking entire season arc. Yes, that's why we were confused. It used anthology in the article. I was reading from the article.
Okay, I was sorry.
So that's why we were posing the question of what their definition of anthology was. So we were running off that basis before we got into it.
It might be like The Witcher, which just had a non-chronological order of how it released its episodes.
Yeah, which would be another way for them to do it if they only wanted to do one season. But if they're trying to look for multiple season shows, in my mind, it would be him getting powers, going on Merc adventures, hating that, maybe a season or half a season of him roaming, and then he meets Xavier and the mutants. Doing Canada stuff. So I don't know what exactly would be, but what do you guys think of that idea in general, and it being a series versus a movie, and where are we anticipating we see the mutants coming from? And just there's a lot of things to unpack here.
Well, I start off. I think it's a good idea. Just because it's Wolverine, and I feel like Wolverine having the whole, being from like what was it, like Civil War, right, era.
In origin.
So being from then, I feel like it makes sense to give him a series and kind of follow him throughout the decades per se, and just kind of see him grow as a character, and then maybe get to modern day. Whereas then we would have a Mutants movie to tie that all together, but it makes sense. And just telling his story through a TV show, as we've seen through WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when you tell a TV show, you have a lot more you can work with, a lot more depth, a lot of different themes, and a lot more time to space out these kinds of ideas for these characters. And I feel like that works very well for something like Wolverine. So yeah, I think it'd work well. It would definitely help Disney Plus, because it's like you could be like, oh, you want to see how the mutants start forming? Gotta go there. So very smart play on them for that, and yeah, it'd be interesting and fun. I like it.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if they're going to start with the Civil War, which, as you pointed out, that's where Origins started, because I don't know how they're handling mutants. Because in that universe, mutants always existed, but in this universe, we've been skirting around mutants. So I'm not sure where the beginning point is. Nick, what do you think about the ideas of it being a series?
I think it's good, and I think Brownie kind of covered the kind of surface level. What I would say is, like, I think what we'll probably see from now on is when Marvel introduces new characters, they'll be introduced via TV shows, and then we'll get them in team-ups or duo movies like Thor, of them and another character who has a good story to tell with that character. But for like the individual development, we'll probably see that in TV shows now instead of movies.
Okay. All right. Well, enough of this. Let's move on, and we'll do a little quick update on Doctor Strange 2. All right. So we're gonna give a couple of updates on filming and where projects are currently at. Doctor Strange 2. Kevin Feige confirmed this week that it is in the final week of production. Black Adam started last Friday, according to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Instagram, with thighs that could kill a man. And The Flash. As of 4/18, it is believed to have started filming. We haven't gotten any official confirmation from the Muschiettes, but it's believed that The Flash, a troubled production, is finally underway. So, we're all generally excited about these movies. Probably don't need to go into too much detail. So let's move forward.
Moving forward.
Jon Favreau, returning as Happy Hogan in Spider-Man No Way Home. He's going to interact probably with Marissa Tomei. He's going to help Peter do whatever the Peter Tingle's got to do. What do we think? Nick?
I think it's expected, and I think we should go into who else has been confirmed to return.
Yeah, that's where we're going next.
That's next.
The only reason this is on here is because due to COVID complications, people were not sure if he was showing up. So I figured we'd give an official confirmation here in our show from Murphy's Multiverse that Jon Favreau is returning.
I want to see him propose in this one.
I do too.
That'd be funny.
Nick,
Yeah.
you care? Or are you just excited for his back?
I figured he'd be back. So.
Nick, isn't Happy one of your top 5 Marvel MCU characters?
Him and then King Shark.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
All right, so let's move on. Nick, I want you to head straight to the variety story for Alfred Molina
Nick,
detailing.
get there. Come on. He got it. He got it. He's up for the link. Drag it over.
You have
You got
Screen Rant. It wasn't Variety.
What? I pulled out all the stuff from the folder. I have no Screen Rant in there, but okay. Are we? What? It doesn't matter.
Okay, I pulled up the Variety article. I don't know where that one came from, I'll be honest.
I guess we're there now. Okay, Alfred Molina did an in-depth interview detailing Dr. Octopus's return in Spider-Man No Way Home. There's a couple things to unpack. I'm not going to read through the whole article because he
Spoilers.
He pulled Tom Holland here and kind of said some things that have been, theorized, but not confirmed. So, it's the worst kept secret that they are doing a Spider-Verse movie, but he kind of talked about how... So, let's start from this. John Watts pointed out to him, when they were in initial talks to this, that no one really dies. And essentially, this movie is going to pick up right after the events of Spider-Man 2, in Doc Ock's story, where he dies drowning in the experimental fusion reactor in some New York river. So that's where
He doesn't just drown. That big machine of energy ball collapses on him. It
not,
implodes on itself.
Okay, fine, whatever. He died, or he was supposed to have died. So it's picking up right from that moment in the river, which in a franchise that includes multiverses, time travel, and diverging timelines seems plausible enough. So Molina was initially concerned about how it would look, but Watts also pointed out that de-aging technology has done great things and whatnot, and the physicality aspect, but they're like, you just got to be there. You got to do the things. We'll make the arms do all the cool things, so don't worry about it. So neither Sony Pictures nor Marvel which are co-producing, has confirmed Molina's return, but news of his casting leaked last year in all of this stuff in December. Along with reports that Jamie Foxx will appear as Electro, which is the same villain he played in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Later, Zendaya confirmed the casting and whatnot in conversations. But this whole thing is getting people talking about that we're picking up exactly where these characters left off, and in their respective universe. So we'll have Alfred Molina coming out of the river and being confused as hell with his arms and being batshit crazy. We got Electro, who I don't really remember how he died or got captured or whatever in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Gwen's supposed to be dead. What do we think about this guy?
Nick, do you want to start?
I think they got their hands full with the amount of content they seem to be going to be jumping from, but I think with how they have presented more convoluted things previously, it's come across well, so I don't think they won't be able to execute. I just think they know they have a big pile on their plate, and they're going to be able to they will have done the time to be able to eat it right. I don't know. I started with the food analogy. I'll end with the food analogy.
Don't make me go get a taco.
They're hungry. What do I think, Joe? I don't know. Let me ask myself. What do I think? So I think I've seen a lot of discussion about this, and some people say that it takes away from the sacrifice at the end of Spider-Man 2, which I can somewhat agree with. Actually, I can agree with it a lot. I feel like it's plausible just because at the end of Spider-Man 2, we didn't see a body. You know what they always say, like, oh, they're never really dead unless you see a body. So yeah. I can very well see how they'd be like, oh, the energy ball, transported to a different timeline. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it makes you question about everything else, though. So
yeah, I'm sure. It's just I like Spider-Man 2.
From just another universe.
This movie makes me just want to go, I wish I knew none of this. I want to stop theorying and just show up, sit my ass down in a theater in December and go, just experience the story. Be like, I'm here for it. Whatever the hell it is, just let whatever 2.5 to 3 hour version of this movie is going to come out. And
I feel like this should be a 3 hour movie. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like they're packing a lot here.
I think it will be.
It better be. If it better be, because unless we want to have another Spider-Man 3, it better be 3 hours.
I mean, I don't know. There's so much that they have to do. They have to wrap up the stuff from the end of 2. They have to incorporate all these characters and set it up for what I assume is an actual multiverse movie. Because all this stuff's supposed to be very little, kind of. But who knows? And I don't think these are the only 2 villains. I think these are the 2 villains that got leaked. I think there's other stuff that we don't know, which I hope just stays covered.
No, yeah, I agree.
And
I just hope they do it right.
That if these 2 characters pop up and are the villain throughout the movie, and then it's like Peter can't handle it, and then somehow that's where we get the multiverse, that somehow these guys pop up and they're really confused, and that's where you get into into the Spider-Verse where Gwen popped up before Peter popped up and that kind of thing, where then by the time both the other Peters pop up, then that's where the end battle happens. But I don't want to think about it too much. I just want to kind of see it. So
No, yeah, I agree.
I mean, obviously, when the first trailer, I'll watch the first trailer, but that's probably all I'll do.
Same.
Okay. We got a lot of news to cover, so let's move on to the next one. I just want to talk about the absurd budget that Amazon's Lord of the Rings is getting for the first season. Can you switch over to that for just a second, Nick? Okay. Over from the Hollywood Reporter, Amazon's The Lord of the Rings is going to cost $465 million for just one season. I mean, this is absolutely mind-boggling for me.
I mean, they've got the money.
I mean, yeah, they got the money, but it's like it's far above previous reported estimates that pegged the drama as a $500 million for multiple seasons. So 465 for just one.
Maybe the other one just has the remainder of the 500 million.
And this is looking at it's maybe in the New Zealand money is 650 million. Regardless, this is a stupid ass amount of money. By comparison, Game of Thrones costs 100 million to produce per season, with its per episode costing around 6 million for season 1, and eventually rising to around 15 million per episode in season 8. So I know we're not all the hugest Lord of the Ring fans here, but we got to give credit to Amazon on this one. And I'm curious that if this does well, do you think it gets Marvel and DC to dump more into Disney Plus and HBO to pump the budget up on these things? Or do you think it's just Amazon's fuck you money that they got?
It feels like an Amazon fuck you money. Because I feel like HBO Max, like all their original series, no matter what, for the most part, has been consistently good quality. I've seen reviews of other originals that they have, and I rarely ever see a bad score for something they make. So I feel like if they've got that good track record and they're doing it well with the budget they have, why increase it,
No. Yeah, I mean, I get that. Just thought I'd bring it up.
But yeah, this just feels like an Amazon fuck you money. We have it, let's do it. And it's Lord of the Rings, so they can do a lot of CG with that and practical effects as well. So yeah, just sounds like a nice little we can do it. Let's do it. Next.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of what you've said and probably also the fact of the just competition of the content of Lord of the Rings. It hasn't been as culturally relevant as in recent years. So why not put as much money as you financially can, and just try to make it as beefy as long as possible. And like with that amount of money, I don't think we're getting 40-minute episodes. We're getting 12 episodes each that are hour-and-a-half long episodes that each have a 10 to 15 epic battle in them. 10 to 15 minute epic battle. So I think it's gonna be like quite literally an epic type production.
Yeah. Just, I think it'll be interesting to see when the show finally comes out if the amount of money they're putting in translates to quality.
Yeah.
So, for me, like, one of my things over on HBO Max that I would like to see more budget in its upcoming third season is Titans. There's been some budgetary restrictions for certain aspects of the characters, with Beast Boy being the main one of them.
Beast Boy Tiger.
Yeah. So apparently he's getting more of that in the third season. So hopefully, with the shift over to HBO Max, the budget can increase. So it's just going to be an interesting conversation that we'll probably keep having on the show. That does sometimes the money that's being put into these things equate to quality. So let's move forward over from BatmanNews.com, which is where I decided to pull the story from. It's probably not the original thing, but HBO Max, the Batman spinoff, reportedly will be focusing on James Gordon. So the details have been sparse in regards to the upcoming the Batman spinoff for HBO Max. What little information is out there has said that it will focus on Gotham City Police around a year before the events of the movie. Ed Brubaker, a comic writer, may have shared an important piece of that puzzle over on Fat Man Beyond, Kevin Smith's nerd podcast. He was like, maybe they're going to really make Gotham Central this time. And I reached out to a producer who worked for Matt Reeves, and he said, no, that's not really Gotham Central. They're making sure they don't call it Gotham Central, and it's more of a spin-off from the movie. It's like the James Gordon show. This would imply that Jeffrey Wright will be starring in the series, but no formal announcements have been made yet regarding any cast members. The only firm piece of information recently that was that Terrence Winter departed the project last November over creative differences, but then was replaced by Joe Barton, is the showrunner. Barton then got a tweet a couple weeks ago that made some traction, saying the no cops are good in that universe, which would make sense, considering Gotham is supposed to be really corrupt, especially when Batman starts. So I want to talk about this, and then there's a piece of it that I didn't pull an article for it that I will get it to. But Ronnie, what do you think?
Gotham 2, the series. Sounds like it, just different. I just wonder how they're gonna, like, what they're gonna do. I feel like, what do you do after you make Gotham? You know, are you just gonna make another version of Gotham, or like what do you expect from this show, or Nick? Because
I mean,
kind of
you gotta remember what Gotham was. You know what I mean? Like, that first season of Gotham is hinting at so many things that are 10 to 15 years down the line in Batman's timeline, where it's like, this is how Cobblepot got his empire. This is how the Venom serum started getting formulated. Then you get toward the later seasons when the Joker starts getting introduced. You get hints of Arkham Asylum and all that kind of stuff. But this is a year before the movie. So I think there's different things for them to play at, where, especially if in the movie Carmine Falcone's such a big force in Gotham, I almost think it focuses on that. It focuses on the corruption that the Falcone Empire has seeped into Gotham City and the police department, and this new transfer, Jim Gordon. And don't forget, this is not a new Jim Gordon, but it's a different actor. Jeffrey Wright is not the same. He's black, so it's a different interpretation on the character. So there's different things that are going to come into play when talking Jim Gordon.
Wait, so this is the same Jim Gordon from the Pattinson movie, right?
Yeah, they're creating spin-offs.
And remind me, in that new Batman movie, isn't it his second year as Batman? Has that been confirmed or not?
Yep.
Second?
Oh.
Okay, so
yeah,
this is a year before.
So you start getting hints. We'll get the aspect that he is operating in the background.
I can see that. Okay, I can kind of get with that. Sounds interesting. I'm not fully excited. I feel like I gotta see what the Batman movie does for me, and then from there I'll see, is this something that I want to watch? But I get what they're doing now. Interesting. That's all I've got to say about it. Nick?
What's the show with Matthew McConaughey where he's a detective, Joey?
True Detective?
I bet it's gonna be big True Detective vibes. I bet it's gonna be dark, material wise, just set in. Like that trailer that we got that content wasn't very light.
No, you haven't watched True Detective, so I know what you're pulling from of like a dark, messed up crime drama,
Yeah.
but you haven't seen that. So I don't. There are pieces of that I don't think they will go that far, but I think you are right that this will be very dark in tone. This is not going to be a comedy by any means.
Where it's a darker crime drama. There we go.
I think Nick's thinking more along the lines of like Paw Patrol, because like that's a very true crime.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
Blue's Clues type stuff.
yeah, for me, I think you work a lot within the lines of the corruption of Gotham City. You introduce who this version of Jim Gordon is, because this should be dropping afterward. So this will kind of serve as our in-between the Batman 1 and the Batman 2, whenever the hell that comes out. So there's a lot they can do with it, and that'll make it different than Gotham in my mind, especially because Batman will be active. So, and not most of his villains are not supposed to be like operating at full potential. So this is kind of like maybe we'll get some of what Gotham did well, where it was hinting at these villains and how they kind of popped up. Whereas you get a Dr. Jonathan Crane at Arkham Asylum being a psychiatrist, and then you kind of see that he's got something going on the side or something like that. But I'm not really sure. I'm excited when it eventually will drop. But so from here, I want to talk about a rumor I saw on Twitter this week that I didn't cite. So there's nothing new to pull up, Nick. But apparently, they're also talking about doing a Selena Kyle HBO Max spin-off series in this world with Zoe Kravitz heading it up. There was no real official article. If there is, I'll see if I can find one while I'm talking about it. But what do you guys think? If the plan is in this universe, we're gonna keep setting up all these things. Do we really think you're going to get... Or not do we think that we're going to get it, because obviously DC will clearly greenlight anything, which we've talked about multiple times. But is it plausible that we get a Catwoman spin-off, either telling her origin or telling her... Say it's like Batman Arkham City's Catwoman DLC, where she's got her own unique story in connection with Batman... kind of deal. Like, what do you guys think?
Nick, any thoughts?
Highly plausible. Like, I don't see why they wouldn't do it. The whole mainline DCEU is so messed up. Like, if they're gonna give us shows, at least give some kind of like through line with it. So if they seem to be focusing. I want to do this stuff well for this Batman universe. I don't know what Earth he's on, but I think
So 2. But that doesn't really make...
Is it supposed to be Earth 2?
Apparently they did a whole revamp of all the Earths after some kind of CW Infinite Crisis event. I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. And it reset the Earths. So Batman's own Earth, I think, is Earth 2. I could be wrong about that. Or maybe that's Stargirl. I don't know.
No, it's supposed to be Earth 2. They've mentioned it multiple times.
All right. Well, I'll say this.
Apparently, this rumor has been circulating since August of last year, and I've somehow missed it.
Oh, let's go.
Or is that Earth 3?
Huh?
I thought Owlman was from Earth 2, but it's fine.
Oh, you're thinking about Earth 312. You're thinking about Earth 312.
You're talking a CW verse that's operating as Earth 1.
Okay.
So,
wait, are we talking about a CW show or like the
an HBO Max spinoff in Pattinson's The Batman?
Okay.
Batman.
I'm sorry. Y'all lost me there for a second.
Big loss and stuff. Ryan, what do you think? Do you think that like the likelihood of this, since apparently this rumor has been circulating on multiple websites since last August, that do you think this is plausible, or do you think this is kind of like just smoke and mirrors at the moment until they greenlight whatever the next spinoff is?
I think this is plausible. I actually kind of, now that you mentioned this James Gordon show and this possible Catwoman show, what I kind of want to see, I kind of want to see them build like just a Batman universe in this.
That's what this kind of leads into, that kind of idea.
Yeah, so I feel like that'd be interesting and kind of bring more of these classic Batman story to life. Like think like Batman Hush or like Batman Under the Red Hood or something along those lines, to kind of make it this long legacy where you can see the character's growth in that sort of way. That's something I would really want to see, and especially kind of seeing it tie in with obviously Batman in some way, shape, or form to tie it overall to the overarching universe. So yeah, I'd be down for it. I'd be super down if they do that kind of idea. Now, if this is just like a one-off, James Gordon show and Catwoman show, then all right, I'll still watch it. But I think it'd be really interesting if they somehow manage to make their own little Batverse per se.
Yeah, because tied to this, I saw a couple other things where it was like Pattinson wants a lot of creative control in this, and they're trying to set up different spin-offs and whatnot. He wants his own Bat family. Eventually, he wants to get to the point where you've got multiple Robins, you have multiple Batgirls, you've got your Nightwing, your Oracle, you've got all of these things that they want to eventually set up down the line. And I mean, Pattinson and Reeves are locked in for a trilogy. So, and it also kind of makes sense with, I don't remember if we talked about this report last week. I think we did. But that Pattinson wants his own Justice League team where it's this other Earths where the Blue Beetle, the new Superman, Our Man, all these things, that Pattinson wants to be heading up that team where you've got the Snyder Cut and all that. That's a different team. This is a different Justice League team, where it kind of makes sense that this could be their idea to isolate, but who knows. Okay, let's move on to a casting update for Shazam 2, or Shazam Fury of the Gods. They've cast Lucy Liu as the villain she's going to be working in tandem with Helen Mirren's villainous character, Hespera. Lucy will be playing the villain Calypso, who will be the sister of Helen Mirren's Hespera. Nick, I don't know if you have any Greek mythology connection that you could explain to the audience.
I got the connection from the Percy Jackson book, but she's supposed to be a witch, and it's like she traps men on an island, like anti-men type stuff.
Okay, so which story? Ron, are you excited about this casting, or no?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next story.
Wait. I just wanted to see how you'd react. Yeah, I'm excited. Okay. Yeah, I think it's really cool. She seems like a really great actress. I can see that she probably has some flair to her, and so seeing her with the cast that we have here, it kind of gives me an idea of like almost like Helena from Ragnarok, but not exactly. So we'll see what she brings to the table. But yeah, she seems like a very promising role and character and actor for this movie. So very excited.
Yeah. Okay. Nick, you positive on this in general?
Like Lucy Liu's good actress, so
cool. All right, well, let's move on to the second to last story, which I'm sure we'll get Ronnie a little more riled up on. So, I think it was 2 weeks ago we talked about the canceled, the canceled version of Tom King and Ava DuVernay's New Gods movie. But apparently, there was a New Gods movie that was in development even longer before then. So, there was a leaked script from the movie New Gods connected to the Snyderverse, la 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 la. This went around because Michael Johnson was doing interviews with Multiversity that his original New Gods script was supposed to tie into Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. He wanted to tell Lord of the Rings style mythological epic, which a lot of these people, when they talk about New Gods, do. He said it would have given us a glimpse into the fall of Ares. Ares teams up with Uxas to kill the old gods while Uxas absorbs Their power through the Omega effect, Ares is cast out of Olympus by Zeus, but Uxus then kills Zeus, increasing his power. This is all narrated by Metron. Metron will guide us through the origins of the new gods, Darkseid's origins, Highfather's origins, the Great Battle of New Genesis. We would see Darkseid riding a giant hellhound as his steed with his army ready to destroy New Genesis. Darkseid believes that if he can destroy the source of life itself, then it would lead him to the anti-life equation. Incorporated in his script were the original four Furies, Calabac, and the fight gets so bad that the source separates them. Meanwhile, Metron sat above the battle watching. Darkseid and Highfather look to Metron for an answer. Darkseid and Highfather bring their sons Scott and Orion for the trade. This is where we meet a young Barda teaching Scott about Apocalypse. Granny Goodness introduces herself to Scott. So that was apparently the gist of the prologue. Ronnie, do you think we're getting shafted here? Do you think this is something DC should be investing way more into exploring the new gods? Because this is kind of... This rivals Thanos in most DC fans' opinion, the mythos of the new gods.
I think Nick's ready to blow his brains out after hearing all of that. Like, Nick looked so tired hearing all of that. But
I think Nick's
I
don't remember most of them.
I don't think we're getting too shafted. I'll be honest. New God stuff, very interesting. But I feel like it takes a lot to tell that story. So I feel like with something as depth or complicated as that, I would want them to do it carefully. So hearing that kind of idea, it sounds interesting, but it sounds really jam-packed. So I don't know how to feel about it.
That was supposed to be like prologue, like narration type deal. I mean, a lot of what I said was like, you could imagine it being like a time lapse, a lot of VO, heavy on the visuals. So
it does sound really interesting, but I don't think we're getting shafted, Joe. I think this is something that we would want and need, but it needs to be tweaked a little bit, probably.
Needs to be earned.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not with you on that. I just these are characters I've kind of fallen in love with in recent years, with Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, and the multiple interpretations of Darkseid we've seen through the animated properties. How Young Justice in particular is leaning into a lot of the New God stuff with Season 3. We'll definitely see more of it in Season 4. So, Nick, did that intro sound cool to you? Like Lord of the Rings style, massive epic battle, New God, Apocalypse.
Like, when I hear New Gods, I don't think of people fighting with swords in a field. Like,
okay.
I don't know why would that be your comparison of a future technology civilization? Why is your source of reference?
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
It's not like I think they'd probably execute fine, but I'm the only one who finds that a little ironic that they're referencing sword fights for a futuristic type movie. No,
I don't remember hearing sword fight.
Lord of the Rings. What do they fight with?
That's what I was referencing as like
the vibe,
massive epic battle, intense
was that you?
mythos. Yes, that was me.
Oh, okay. So I'm just making fun of you at this point.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the last story before I just get
throttle me. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So,
where am I clicking?
The last possible story. The only thing that should be left up.
Oh, the Spielberg thing.
Yes.
I didn't exit out any of the tabs, Joseph, so they were all still up. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm exiting as I'm going. So, okay. 3 years ago, we got a report that Steven Spielberg was developing the World War II era DC property of Blackhawks. And the property had appeared to have been in development hell for quite some time. But we got a confirmation today that it's still in development. And DG Cope over on Instagram, David Cope is the screenwriter, was apparently working on the Blackhawks screenplay today. Or no, not today, December 17th. What? Okay, whatever. This is weird. Maybe this was this a whatever. Okay.
Turns out it's an April Fool's article.
It's not. It's not. I thought this was like the. Never mind. I never. Ignore me. Ignore me. Ignore me.
Let's go.
So.
Yeah, I should have read more into this. But just ignore it. Nick, can you cut this out later or just troll me with it? I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Nick, you should put a bunch of sliding whistles.
Are we just gonna start talking about Falcon now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Switch over to Falcon. Did you had other like visuals to show for that, didn't you? It looked like you did when you were flipping your camera around to me. You were gonna show who JLD's character was?
Yeah, if that came up.
Oh, okay. Ignore me. All right. Let's get into. You just seem absolutely exhausted and so fed up today. All right. Well, we're almost there. We'll try and breeze through this.
That's fine.
Try.
I'm good.
But there's moments we want to hit on, so we don't want to do it disjustice. Let's get into the penultimate episode of Falcon Winter Soldier, episode 5. There's lots to break down. We gotta deal with the fallout of what happened at the end of episode 4 with John Walker killing one of the flag smashers in broad daylight, being filmed by multiple people. And we got a battle for the shield. So what did we think about that battle for the shield and the high cinematography that was going on there? Ronnie looks like he's on the verge of just breaking out laughing.
No, I was waiting for. I was wondering if Nick wanted to go first. Nick?
I thought the fight was really good. There was a lot of symbolism with everything of how, I just liked how they.
Better? Did it stop?
Yeah, you're good now. I don't think Nick knows that.
Is it better now?
It was making that noise earlier too. What the hell? Sorry, guys. Hopefully it'll stop. I'm now scared my phone's gonna blow up on me in my sleep.
Alright, so I guess we're doing this rapid pace. I thought the fight was awesome. I thought how, it was like Bucky barely said anything, and towards the end, right before they fought, he's like, "No, we do want to do this. Like, we are tired of your BS. Like, we're fighting." And then they fought, and it was a really good fight.
I think John Walker should have said, "I can do this all day." No, I'm just kidding. I really liked it. Episode 5 to me is very close, if not tied, to episode 4 of being my favorite so far in the series. Just because of the juxtaposition. But before we get into the rest of that, like we're talking about the battle scene. So in that battle scene, I just, like Nick said, I just liked how they were done with the bullshit and they just wanted to get the fight done, get it out the way. And I liked seeing how Bucky and Falcon worked together to take him down. Like there were moments where one was in danger and he'd help him out versus the other. And I really liked, I don't know, I guess it's his signature move now. But I really liked how many times John Walker was about to just do the classical smash him in. He did it 3 different times, I think, to both of them in different sequences, obviously, but still 3 times total. So it's kind of funny just to see him make that his signature move with the shield after using it horribly the scene before. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked seeing him kind of panic and break down in it before the fight started. Really well done acting.
Yeah. He's already rationalizing his decision, making sure I always do the right thing. What are you talking about? That's
yeah.
So
and that shot of him with the shield, kind of crouched down, kind of almost in a fetal position, but sitting up still, and the shield covering his whole body. That was really well done. So yeah, cinematography was great. Bucky and Sam working together, fighting together, well done, well choreographed, and yeah, just a fun time overall. Probably one of the better fight scenes in this whole series, if not the best. Really.
Yeah. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think I was more excited to see whatever the hell was coming afterward, which is why I'm kind of lukewarm on that fight scene in particular. But yeah. All right. What do we think of the immediate consequences of the American government pulling the shield from him, or not the shield because obviously Sam still has it, but what do we think of the government going, "Hey, you are not Captain America any longer. You are not in the army. We want nothing to do with you anymore. You can go do whatever," and being kind of anti what the actual American government would probably have done.
Nick, thoughts? You
I
look
think
scuffled.
I think that's exactly what the American government do. They would take no responsibility whatsoever, put it immediately just on the soldier themselves. And I think John Walker's line in there was really telling of like, you built me. I did exactly what you taught me to do. And now you're telling me I messed up because of it? So
You're not wrong. It was more just I was
There's
trying.
two sides to this as to what would have happened. There'd be one side where they rationalize saying, "Oh, he had to do that because so and so," or there's the one that actually happened in the series where it's like they take no responsibility, like, "Oh, we didn't want this to happen. This was not our fault," even though theoretically speaking, John Walker was trained by them to do exactly what he did to some extent. Obviously, probably not. That wasn't probably the protocol, but it was fueled in him.
instead of a bullet to the head, it was a shield.
Yeah. So I liked the way it was handled, and I like how they try to make him think that like, oh, we're saving your ass. You would have had like way worse if you didn't have your medals of honor, if you didn't have blah blah blah. Kind of just that
Which is
idea of like
good
saying
parallels to later on of what we hear.
yeah. So also in that same scene, I like that sequence. That lady that went to talk to him and his wife. I love how she would like. She said like, "Oh, the shield thing. That's always a gray area. No one really owns it. We don't really know the rights behind that." That was so funny to me. I like that. I like.
You know
that
where
scene.
she comes from, by the way?
Isn't she supposed to be something from Black Widow movie or something like that? And then that got messed up because of ordering and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, no way! I can't wait to see this in Black Widow.
Okay, so her character, Nick, can you
It's a
whatever the hell her I don't know her name, so you're
okay.
gonna
It's
have to
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. So,
Okay, so there was a big rumor going around that I just decided to not talk about on the podcast. So there was a mysterious actor popping up on the show in episode 5, and I was like, that's kind of what I was looking out for. And I was like, who the hell is that? And then Julia Louise-Dreyfus pops up and is playing this dyed blue-haired chick in this badass outfit that walks in after the courtroom scene, and I'm like, holy shit, that's JLD. And she's from Seinfeld, Veep, all sorts of great things. She's a comedian, is where her heritage, her filmography comes from. But and as Ronnie was leading to, we found out after the episode aired that her character was originally supposed to appear in Black Widow, and which would have made this cameo make a lot more sense. So
we're seeing the effects.
Yes, we are seeing a little bit of the effects of COVID that haven't really seemed to touch anything so far.
Well, we haven't mentioned it up to this point, but there was supposed to be a virus plot in this this show. It's been removed.
Really?
Yeah. Did you not? Have you not heard about that?
I forgot. I just forgot.
Yeah. So like when first episode when they hop into the truck and there's vaccines, and then Mama Dia or whatever her name was, she was supposed to have died by the pandemic or whatever was going on in the show. Also, remember when they went to the science guy that was making this stuff? There was one piece where they re-recorded audio and you never saw his face when he said the stuff, and there was a difference in quality of them just saying it was tuberculosis, but it wasn't supposed to be that.
Interesting.
So they've edited around
So you're talking about it.
Yeah, Joe, you're frozen, so I think he's gone again.
But I'm gonna say something on that real quick while Joe's frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Oh yeah. I just think that if I'm glad that they cut that out. Not even just because of like the whole like the subject matter. I think it's just we have already so much we're doing with the show and also with the limited 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like adding in this whole like virus subplot would have just made it messier, and I feel like it was already feeling a little claustrophobic a little bit, but they just barely managed to make it feel like just right. So
You're back, Joseph,
I think
so we can see your face.
I think cutting that subplot out was a good call on their
Yeah,
part.
I think it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time because I think that's why we feel like the Flag Smashers are underdeveloped. Because that would be their main push is because all of the dispersed people
aren't getting treatment or something.
Yeah, so I think that's why I think it's like okay we see and if it was here how different would it be? But I don't know. It's good so far without it, so I don't think it's too bad of a qualm. Joe,
Same.
have anything to talk about?
No, what you guys were saying as I came back in after my phone decided to cease again. It makes sense. Depending on how they would have played it, it could have worked, but it may not have played over very well. But who knows? I'm more excited for just the character in general because Nick, do you know her background at all?
Yes. Okay.
Fontaine. Give us a little.
In general, her character is supposed to be highly tied with Nick Fury in the comics. So they're supposed to be like kind of a they're connected, very connected. And at one point or another, she goes undercover as Madam Hydra. So that's where some people have thought that she's now Hydra in this new thing. But due to the fact of her colored hair, there's the streak. There's another character that was in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show that had been in that show, but they think they might be kind of connecting the two characters. And she was basically a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent working for General Ross, and they think that it's an amalgamation of the two, and she's supposed to be the connection to the Thunderbolts of his anti-hero group that he wants to lead.
His some kind of Suicide Squad.
Yes, his some kind of Suicide Squad.
So I'm more with that. Okay.
So I think it might be something along the lines of like she was connected to Nick, but then Ross has like kind of swayed her over maybe if they want to keep that connection, or she might kind of just be she has the same name.
New Nick.
She has the same name, but yeah, they're using her differently.
Yeah, because Brian and I, after we watched the show, we were theorizing of like who she was connection to, and my immediate thought was the Power Broker. But that got shut down real quick because of Twitter, and Brian was like, "Yeah, it seems more Thunderbolt related." And then when I thought about that, I was like, "It's almost like whatever their Thunder version of the Thunderbolts is going to be, seems like it could be a amalgamation of the idea behind the Suicide Squad and the Dark Avengers, where there's a little bit of overlap where you get this kind of gray area team."
That's what the Thunderbolts are supposed to be.
Well, you get to the point where there are a lot of teams, and there are lots of things.
Young Avengers, Thunderbolts, Avengers, New Avengers.
Yeah, the West Coast Avengers, Young Avengers. You could just keep listing. Yeah.
DC, but we got Legion of Doom, Justice League, maybe the Legion of Heroes.
Yeah, but that's like 10 centuries in the future. So we're chilling on that. Okay.
East Coast, West Coast, South Coast.
I'm excited for when she pops up in Black Widow, because apparently Black Widow's supposed to tease Thunderbolts and whatnot, so that'll make a whole lot more sense come July when the movie finally drops, and we'll get to the bottom of that. End credit scene, whatever the hell. It may just be a general plot in the film, because I actually was doing a little bit of Googling earlier. Who was on the typical main Dark Avengers roster? Yelena Bolanevna. Or whatever the hell. I'm sure Taskmaster's been involved a time or two. But Yelena, who's going to replace Scarlet, as Black Widow, or has been heavily rumored to.
Mm-hmm.
It would make sense that we're now developing another team that is going to work co-op. Because I originally thought she's just going to take over the mantle of Black Widow. She'll be in the main Avengers team. It'll be whatever. But if we're developing a Thunderbolts team that's going to keep some of these characters that are kind of shitty in the universe, especially if Yelena comes across as kind of an even murkier past than Natasha did because Natasha left her behind or whatever the deal is, this would make sense, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Okay, so let's touch on we're gonna get to Sam in a second, but let's touch on Bucky and Zemo and how Zemo gets turned over to Wakanda. Because let's hit that moment, and then we'll just talk Falcon and then Falcon and Sam, or Falcon and Bucky.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it. I messed it up all.
I thought it was good. I liked it. He followed rule number 2, no violence. So, like, he's trying, and I thought it was funny of Zemo going, like, I signed my name out of the book for you. So, I like that.
Yeah. I liked how, I feel like that scene, like how like Nick just mentioned, shows Zemo's class in a way. Like, he got what he wanted. He did what he had to do. He's done.
And the fact that he's going to the raft, the prison that Thunderbolt Ross is in charge of, it's like, at the end of this series, we're going to have him and Marcel and then John Walker, the person who he hates the most, is the antithesis to what his core values are, is going to be in a prison cell right next to him.
Beautiful.
I don't know if they're going to be buddies.
Why would they? I'm not saying they're buddies, but I'm going to say there's going to be. You know what I meant.
The point you were making, I don't think Walker ends up in the raft. Is my point.
You think he ends up dead?
No, I think somebody shows up and picks up whatever the hell is left of his body, takes him in a lab, and goes, "Okay, when you wake up, that's where you get it." Because I more think the Zemo thing leads to a rebuilding of Hydra or AIM or something.
Perhaps Young Avengers. Just kidding.
Well, I mean, I think you save that Zemo card for a breakout eventually, because what they're gonna start doing is they're gonna start using the raft more. They're gonna start
putting all the villains in the raft.
Throw villains away and lock the key, and then eventually we're gonna get to the point where a big raft breakout happens, and we get either a show or a movie dealing with
Zemo breakout scene.
What was it in the animated show? Who was the character? Galvatron? Right?
Oh, whatever the hell that dude was.
I think it's Galvatron. That would be hilarious if they end up doing the same plot point of having him.
I mean, it won't be the same, but it'll be close.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that one deals with 4 different prisons, which they're not doing.
Yeah.
They're doing 1.
I know. So. The general idea of him.
We'll get to the point of Galvatron. At least I don't think so.
And then
but who knows?
Sentry? Him versus Sentry?
Again, I don't know who Sentry is.
He's supposed to be Marvel's
Superman copy.
Oh, okay.
You don't care.
Yeah.
Alright.
I think Abomination is supposed to already be sitting in the raft, but I don't know. Abomination's supposed to pop up in She-Hulk, so who knows? Okay. I enjoyed that scene, thought it was cool. Obviously, we know what's in the Wakanda thing, what that second favor was, or at least we think we know. What do you guys think about all the scenes in Louisiana? Let's just kind of tie them all together and just talk generally about what do we think. Because
Baltimore?
Huh?
Baltimore?
Oh, true. I did totally forget about Baltimore.
Should talk about that now.
All right. Well, yeah. Lead us into that one, Nick.
I thought the conversation was like really moving because of the ties of how there's the story between him and Steve were so close, and how the reaction to them like going to break their buddies out of the camp that they've been captured in, and how like Steve was met with praise, and he was like put in jail and tortured and experimented on for 30 years. And it kind of shows exactly what it's supposed to show about the American system.
I think they did it really well, especially because of how Sam, in a similar light to a Cap, has that kind of hopeful nature of himself. You know, he says, "We can do right. You know, we can put you out there, get your story. I will save your story, and we'll save you." And kind of gives that nature of this battle that we have as to should we look at it with a more hopeful lens or with a more, you know, for what it actually is. Because it is a very brutal story to hear Isaiah Bradley's background and everything that happened to him, not only with his wife and just his own experience. And so seeing Sam kind of learn that lesson of like, just because I have that hope and just because it is my ideal situation doesn't mean it's the one that we're in right now. And seeing Sam come to that kind of realization was really well done. And just the acting on both ends for both of their characters was really well. Like, it's just beyond the emotion they both brought to that talk. Very well done. So, very good.
One of the things this show is doing really well is the balancing of what it means to be a black superhero and what it means to be a symbol for a group of people outside of the country lines that Captain America originally was, as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed superhero, and then we get this kind of, it's a different thing. He's taking up a different mantle when he decides that he wants to take up Cap. There's a lot of weight and responsibility behind it, and I love how the conversation with Isaiah ties into the conversation he has with his sister Sarah, when they're sitting there on the boat, and she goes, whatever happened to him, it was terrible and all that, but you can't let somebody else make this decision for you. This decision has to be you. You can't let what happened to one person define somebody else, because I'm sure she's thinking about it from the aspect of what it would mean to her two young kids and his nephews, of he takes that role and then he's in the spotlight, but he also then becomes an even different kind of role model of he's taking over this role for a country, but he's also taking up this role for the generations that were hurt and totally discredited by the American system, and now he can symbolize the turning of the head, or he can symbolize that he's trying to justify the wrongs, or there are so many things that can be tied to him taking over this role and why he never took it over to begin with. Never wanted to, but it's the same thing of like, these are the questions he's been grappling with this entire time, and his dialogue with Isaiah and his sister and Bucky to some extent are helping him work through this together. So it's really what this show has excelled at, and there's been a lot of good articles that have been written for a lot of the major trade websites. Hollywood Reporter has done a bunch of them they go into what this show means symbolically and stuff, and it's great.
I just want to add to that. I like how when he has that conversation with Bucky when they're throwing around the shield like a football. I like how he mentions how, you know, it doesn't matter what Steve thought or thinks. You know, it's up to them to make their own legacy, their own journey, and be their own people. So in a way, even though if now he takes the shield, he's not doing it for Steve. He's doing it for himself, and he's making that clear that the decision isn't for anyone else but for him. And I really like to kind of put that in perspective during that talk.
It's phenomenal. It's a lot. It's really deep. Okay, well, we kind of started hinting at it. Let's talk about a lot of the scenes that goes on in Louisiana. The community coming together to help them fix the boat. Bucky showing up to help put his strengths to use, and a lot of
Sam's sister.
And then I don't know. It's just there was a lot of moments that I can tell when I go back and rewatch this show eventually. When I do another rewatch, that there are moments that are going to make me smile because of when Bucky wakes up and the kids are playing with the shield, and then they throw it down. Oh shit! Before we get caught, type deal, and the family coming together, and just lots of good moments. And it makes me really hope that we get a second season of this with Sam and Buck on even footing.
One thing I really liked about all that, like what you just mentioned, is that
Ronnie, can you refresh me? It seems to have said, "See ya, Optimus Prime." Oh dear. Hodor. Hi, Nick.
While he's gone, I gotta say, like the only qualm I have about this was the training montage, because they held on the flips way too long for me to be able to tell, like, that ain't Anthony Mackie.
Is this better?
Yeah, you're good now.
All right.
Back to what you were saying.
You see me? I can't see myself, but it's fine.
I wanted to mention that flip thing. Nick, I didn't even notice. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I saw a flip, I was just like, "Oh, cool!" Like I guess like a little kid. I didn't notice it.
It's just me because I've started to notice. I watch like
The
stuntmen
doubles?
reacts, so they can tell you where it's the actor, and that's not the actor anymore. And I was like, I've seen this stuntman react to him doing stuff for Anthony Mackie before, so I was just like, I knew it was him.
That's your boy.
Yeah. So
No, but yeah, the what's it called? Yeah, Louisiana. A big thing going into the show. I feel like a lot of us expected us to see Bucky and Sam kind of already have this like partner one-on-one duo from the get-go and kind of explore that relationship going through the show. But in reality, what we see is actually them building that bond that we expected them to have from the beginning, building it throughout the show. And I feel like this Louisiana scene was the culmination of that. Kind of just getting to see them, relax and slow down. We had 2 very tense episodes before it, and so getting to get that breather before like the ending, really well done. And just like you said, Joe, that morning sequence with Joe's frozen to me is okay.
His audio's moving
frozen
for me. I mean, his video's moving.
He was frozen in a very silly way for a second. So, what's it called? Just seeing that whole, Sam's nephews playing with the shield and Bucky being like, "Hey," and they're like, "Oh, put it back," I just feel like it's cool, he's like an uncle, not really yet because he just slept over for like the first night probably, but hopefully we can see that bond grow and sustain itself if we get more seasons, like you said, Joe. So yeah, I think the Louisiana scene was a really nice time to slow down in the series in a good way, and well earned.
It's hard to put into words sometimes of how good the character interactions are, and it's what the MCU has excelled at in a lot of parts where sometimes the DC universe has fallen, where that's where we would want to get to one day, that Ronnie and I always talk about, where we get the interactions that make sense and they're the interactions that make you smile, and that's the kind of stuff. But that's the stuff that MCU has excelled at since day one. It's been the casting, the writing, and the character moments where the battles may be entertaining to watch, but you come back to see the characters interact and move through their own story in life. And this show, just like the rest, is excelling. So, okay, let's move on. I don't really want to talk about the Flag Smashers too much. We'll talk.
Did you guys connect that Sharon Carter was the one that hired Batroc for her Batroc to go to the Flag Smashers?
Yes.
Okay. It took me a bit. I'm honest. I was a bit slow on that one.
To me, that's just she got a call or somebody pulled the chip in to get her out or to keep her alive or something. I mean, I'm sure we'll see whatever that comes up in.
I just think it kind of heavily implies she's not as good as we thought. She's not a very good person.
Is she the power broker? Question mark?
Maybe. Who knows? We still have no idea who the power broker is.
I kind of like it. I kind of like that though. I'm gonna be honest.
I do too. Makes me interested to see what if they show a face next time, and if it's a face, is it going to be a character that we not a character necessarily, but if it's like. It not only is it an actor that's known, but is it somebody that we've seen before in the MCU type deal. Okay. Let's just talk final stakes for what's coming next. I think the Power Brokers have set up a suitable enough threat. Batroc, in addition to them, is cool, and we've got GSP.
Falcon Wakanda gift.
Yeah, the Falcon Wakanda
suit, and the suit is about to slap.
Yeah.
Suit's about to be heat. So, I think we're. Let's just go from there. Are we excited to see the finale, and do we think they're going to stick it?
I think so. I think they built it up pretty well, and like I said, they slowed down right before, kind of like the calm before the storm. I don't think it's going to excel the joy I've had with episodes 3, 4, and 5, maybe matches 3, but I think it's going to tie it up in a neat way. And hopefully, I feel like we all agreed that WandaVision's finale could have been tweaked a little better and there's been multiple stories about how issues with COVID have affected that finale in certain ways. But I feel like with what they've set up so far in the show, we're going to have a nice, clean, neat ending that makes sense, and it feels like it actually ties up everything. So hopefully that's what we get, and I'm excited to get that.
I totally agree. I feel like it's going to execute probably better than Wanda, just to the fact of it's not going to be heavily CGI stuff. Like, when you can get more hands on the ground for your finale, you can kind of... It's harder to mess that up. Let's just say it like that, I guess.
Not only that, but I think the emotional beats that are set up and how we know it ties into 3 future properties, but we don't know what they are. That it's kind of like they get to write their own ending with this, and it kind of be, we're just satisfied with the ending and how it's the culmination of Sam's choice and Bucky coming to terms and creating his own legacy.
That scene with him and the man is gonna hit.
I may cry.
It's gonna, yeah.
I feel like so far the show's done a good job at tying up all their ends. I feel like that's why I'm excited for the finale, because I feel like with WandaVision there were a lot of things we were still asking at the end, but I feel like with this we kind of have a rough idea of what we're going to touch on, and I think we're going to see all of it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really quality. I'm excited to see whatever the end credits are. I think end credits probably Thunderbolts related in my mind.
Or Shang-Chi.
And I don't know. We'll see if there's a trailer tomorrow, depending on.
To be honest, like it'd be hilarious if like Bucky's like, all right, I'm just gonna go into a fighting tournament because I'm bored and I have nothing else to do.
That could be fun.
Of just like, he's not even really or he's just there to judge. Like, he's a coach. Like, he's there to give corner advice or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, anybody got any final thoughts they want to say on episode 5 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so very much for watching. Please like the video down below. Comment your thoughts on the episode. Comment your thoughts on all the news we talked about this week. We talked a lot. We talked Lord of the Rings. We talked Marvel. Spider-Man. Lots of Spider-Man. And, again, we constantly talk about the state of the DCEU. So, thank you guys very much for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss beats of the content. Hopefully, there will be a Shang-Chi trailer reacts. The question is if it's up before or after the podcast. Probably before. But we're trying to rework some things out. The podcast scheduling is a little rough because we're end of the semester type deal. So we're gonna make it work. We may move days around so we're recording on a Monday or a Sunday instead of Friday, which means it'll be late. So we'll try and move some things around. I know I was gonna upload other videos, but stuff got busy. So we'll see. We're gonna try to keep pumping out some content for you guys, so you guys have something to enjoy and watch and help the channel grow. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week for episode 6, the finale of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Peace.